Appreciate you jumping in here on Birds 365. Thanks for joining the stream since you tuned in for Mac and Mac and got Rickie, Ricardo, the voice of the Eagles in Espanol. I suggest you hit the like button, even if you don't like me. That's fine. You should like Rickie Ricardo because A, he's great at what he does, and B, he's a good guy. Hello, Ricardo.
Morning, gentlemen.
Rickie, good to see you, buddy. Gearing up for baseball too. I gotta believe.
That's why
Well,
I figured once the baseball season started, we had no chance to get him on.
No shot.
So get him on before baseball gets going.
Yeah.
Mets, Yankees today, Phillies, Yankees tomorrow. Then we'll pack on Sunday and get ready to go next. Actually, we have to go to Mexico City.
Wow.
Yankees are playing the Diablos Rojos.
Diablos, give me a rolled R. I can't roll my R's, Rickie.
Los Diablos Rojos
Yeah,
de Mexico.
Rojos. Yeah, I can't roll my R's.
And then from Diablos Rojos de Mexico, we go to Houston and open up against the Astros.
You know, my 8 years of Spanish tells me that means Red Devils.
Yes.
Red Devils.
You
That's
are
how
correct.
good I am. That's how good I am, Rickie.
All right, and there will be a devil on the mound, or at least that's what Major League Baseball thinks because he hasn't gotten a job against the Yankees. You're going to see Trevor Bauer, correct?
Yes. Matter of fact, you are correct. Yeah.
He's pitching for the Mexican team. He's trying to pull out all the stops to get back in baseball, and it hasn't happened. Read between the lines, Trevor. You're not getting back into Major League Baseball. That's just
I disagree. I think somebody.
You think somebody's going to give him a job? Your
yeah.
Yankees will be the team to step up and go, yeah, we'll bring on Trevor Bauer.
With that kind of talent, as hard as he's throwing in the game against the Dodgers last week with another foreign squad, he looked great. Somebody's going to throw him a lifeline. You watch.
Yeah. The punt god, he finally got a job.
Yeah, there you go.
Talent.
Domingo Germán got a job.
Yeah. How about that? Yeah.
Yeah, no truth to the rumor that Rickie and Domingo went out and had a couple of good times along the way.
No.
We'll keep that under wraps. All right, Ricardo, we have not had you on since free agency started.
Yes.
The Eagles have had 3 major signings. Anybody who's on a 1-year deal, some got more than others. Some we still don't know how much they got. Devin White is upwards of $7 million, but we don't know how much incentive earning he's going to need to get the $7 million. But the 3 major signings Eagles had, 3-year contracts, Saquon, Bryce Huff, CJ. Give me your order of successful signing, which will of course be determined by how they play, but your projection as to for the kind of money that the Eagles laid out for them when we evaluated at the end of the year, who will be the most successful signing out of those 3? Put the 3 in order for me.
I think number 1, Saquon. I think Saquon is going to be a huge Eagle. I really do. I think he comes here with a chip on his shoulder. He's out to prove people wrong about. Look, he took a pounding, as you know, in the New York media about why he was taken second overall. You know, as good as he was, unfortunately got injured. But I think he's coming to this Eagle team on a mission. So to answer your question, I'm going to go Saquon 1. I'm going to go Gardner Johnson 2 because Bryce Huff, you know, as good a pass rusher as he is, the numbers don't grade out much on anything else as far as the defense is concerned. It's anything having to do. Jody, you and I are both lifelong Jet fans. A lot of things that are successful with the Jets over the years have been smoke and mirrors. So I'm not 100% convinced on Bryce Huff. So for this particular question, I'm going to go 1, 2, 3. I'm going to go Saquon, who I really think is going to be big for the Eagles. I'm going to go CJ 2 and Huff 3rd. But I'm not under – I mean, I watched plenty of Devin White, and I remember when he got drafted. I believe it was the same draft with Daniel Jones. Am I correct?
That sounds right.
Yeah, and when he was not taken by the Giants, and it was, thought to be
yeah, you're right.
It was thought to be a steal by the Tampa Bay Bucks, and then the way he played during the Brady years in Tampa, if he can just get back to form, if he plays in Philadelphia the way he did a couple of years ago at the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, they may have a steal. The biggest steal of the group may be Devin White.
Yeah, I can't go that far, Ricky. You're right. Devin White, I always talk about when the Bucks won the Super Bowl, he might have been the MVP of the team during the playoffs. He was.
Correct.
His 3 games in the playoffs are unbelievable. I can't speak highly enough. In the regular season, he's been a disappointment. And by and large, the whole time, I think there's this assumption because he was named All Pro in 2020, second team All Pro. That was about his 9 sacks, but he made so many mistakes. The Eagles aren't going to blitz. They're a Vic Fangio defense. They don't blitz, so they're not going to take advantage of what he does well. And the contract, let's be honest. If you're the number 5 pick in the draft, and that's what Devin White was when the Giants took Daniel Jones at, I believe, number 6, and you're out of the first year out of your rookie deal, you get 1 year and $4 million. That's not a good sign, Ricky. That's the whole NFL. That's not just the Eagles. That's the whole NFL saying, you know what? Not enough here.
I'm going to cling my hopes on Devin White. We've been so bad at linebacker.
Well, that's true. That's part of it. Yeah,
you know,
that's part of it.
This is Dick Butkus upgrade compared to what we've had. So.
But I remember some people saying that about Nicholas Morrow last year. Hey, can't be worse than what we. No, I need to see it with my own 2 eyes with Devin White. Not a fan of his, but I'm with you. You and I see it exactly the same. Really like the Barkley signing. Excited about the CJGJ signing. Rolling the dice on Mr. Huff at $51 million. 2 out of the 3 Eagle big signings, I'm very much on board with. I think Barkley's going to make a big difference. And the thing that I gave Howie credit for on the CJGJ thing, which maybe it's because I've been around games, not just football, but at Major League Baseball and like forever. There are some executives / general managers that dig their feet in. When they make a call on a player, they never change their opinion. Unfortunately, I think that's kind of why Kenny Pickett is here. Howie never changed his opinion on him, even though he had 2 years of less than stellar play in Pittsburgh. But they made a mistake when they let CJGJ walk out the door. Mm-hmm. And lesser general managers would go, no, we made a call on him. We can't go back. We can't revisit that. They revisited it. They brought him back in. He's a major upgrade. He's a playmaker, something they needed badly at that position. I give a ton of credit to Howie Roseman for that signing.
I thought Gardner Johnson gave the defense a level of swagger. You know, that season, that defense had a little something to them. They had a little attitude going. And I thought Gardner Johnson was a big component of that. When you succeed on defense, especially in the secondary in the National Football League, there's so much back and forth going on. And Gardner Johnson was the linchpin. He was a big piece of the moxie, per se, that swagger that defense had that year. I welcome him back. Absolutely.
By the way, just to button up the Devin White thing, I've been meaning to say this, so I'm going to say it with you guys. So he played against Drew Brees, Aaron Rodgers, and Patrick Mahomes. That's who the Bucs beat on the way to the Super Bowl. 11 tackles, 1 pass breakup, 1 forced fumble, and an interception of Drew Brees. That's what he did against the Saints. In the NFC Championship game against Aaron Rodgers, 15 tackles, recovered a fumble, and as the Bucs advanced to the Super Bowl. And in the Super Bowl against the Chiefs and Patrick Mahomes, 12 tackles, 2 of them for loss, and the game-sealing interception of Patrick Mahomes. That was his run en route to the Super. It was unbelievable.
That's the guy I want. That's the guy I'm looking for.
Yeah. Now, if you can do that, you have Dick Butkus. Unfortunately, Jody and I have been talking about Rickie. That was after the 2020 season. That's an eternity in the NFL. So right. What are you getting? You getting that guy, or are you getting the guy who the whole league showed up and said, $4 million? We're not going to give you that.
Yeah, there's got to be a happy medium somewhere in between. I'll settle for that.
Yeah. With CJ, I'm with you, man. They missed his playmaking. And you saw it when he was here. That guy just made plays. And his energy, when he's on the field. He's got that, as you mentioned, the swagger you both mentioned. He'll talk some trash. Boy, to me, he's impactful to this team. If he can get back to what he was, or even close to what he was, I think that's going to make a huge difference on the Eagles defense. I'm with you with CJ Gardner-Johnson. And Bryce Huff, man, that's the guy the Eagles got to get right. You know, Saquon Barkley is, and what he's been able to do, he's a good player. The question is how impactful. You know CJ's a good player. Bryce Huff's the projection. $17 million a year projection. That's the one Howie's got to get right. If I phrase it that way, you agree with that aspect of it. That's the one he has to get right.
I agree there. That's the risk. That's the one where he's tossing his reputation into the middle of the ring. Let's see how this works out.
Yeah.
And would it be unfair, this is for both you guys, to compare Bryce Huff in these next 2 years, because you got to believe you're getting 2 years, not going to be, even though, well, no, I compared him to, I don't know if you heard this, Rickie, I compared him to Jason Babin, because Babin came in, had that unbelievable first 18 sacks, second team All-Pro, he was unbelievable. And then by midseason the year after, they just couldn't stand him anymore. They jettisoned his ass in the middle of the season. So it was peak and valley. And the peak was as high as you get, and the valley was as low as you get. I'm not saying that I expect Bryce Huff to be released by midseason in the second year. I'm just saying I think he could have a really good first year and then come back down to earth. Not as drastic. Would it be fair to compare Bryce Huff's first 2 years to Hassan Reddick's first 2 years here in Philadelphia and expect the same type of production? Because the money is actually more for Huff, because he got 17 per and Hassan only got 15 per. Would that be setting the bar too high for Bryce Huff?
No, that's exactly where I've been going in my mind with him. So no, that's absolutely fair. I just want to know now what's going to happen with Reddick. Well, what are they going to do with Sweat and Reddick? I have no idea, because I thought they'd be dealt by now.
Well, Sweat, they reworked the contract, so he's going to be back. So the question is now Hassan Reddick, Rickie. Now, right now, he's scheduled to play for about $15 million a year. No guaranteed money left on the contract. NFL players hate that. The Eagles don't like the contract from the fact that it's $21 million against the cap. There's no way Hassan Reddick comes back and plays for less than Bryce Huff. Do you see any way that happens? No. Something's got to be worked out.
Yeah.
So either way, I mean, you could say what you want, and people, fans obviously know he's a good player and want him to play, but there's not many guys who would say, all right, you're bringing in Bryce Huff, I'm gonna play for less than him. Can you blame Hassan Reddick for not wanting to do that?
No, I can't. No, I can't. There's got to be a resolution to the Reddick situation sooner than later. We'll see how it all gets worked out. Is it safe to say then that Paris Campbell becomes Quez Watkins?
Please,
right now it is.
Please, no. We're hoping for better. I don't know about you. I don't know about
Devontae Parker will play the role of Julio Jones.
Yes.
Here's how I would answer your question, Rickie, and thank you for asking it. The Eagles' wide receiver 3 is yet to join the roster. I think that is absolutely a position they will be looking to draft, and or maybe even a draft day trade. 2 years ago, Howie Roseman made a pretty good wide receiver draft day trade. I'm not suggesting he's going to get A.J. Brown part due, but could be an upgrade at wide receiver 3 via trade. I don't think the third wide receiver is on the Eagle team yet.
From your lips to God's ears, because what a drop off there from the from the 2 starters to Paris Campble and Devontae Parker. Yeah. So
yeah, but you're going to have. I mean, when you have A.J. Brown, Devontae Smith, you're going to have a pretty significant drop off to wide receiver 3, no matter who it is. Last year it was Quez Watkins or Olamide Zaccheaus. This year, if it's Paris Campbell, I agree with Jody. We still got the draft. And the Eagles are going to try to upgrade the position. But if they can't, Paris Campbell's probably going to be the guy. Is that good enough? He hasn't proven to be good enough. Certainly with the New York Giants. But, it's funny. We do put into context when we talk about Saquon Barkley and say, well, he was playing with a poor offensive line. He was playing with a poor quarterback. All true. But we don't give that same dispensation to Paris Campbell or even Daniel Jones, who's still on the Giants. Is that fair? Unfair? Do you think we're bending over backwards to make excuses for Saquon Barkley as opposed to other players who had to deal with the same situation with the New York Giants?
Yeah, I see your point here, Mac. The Giant offensive line, which by the way has a bunch of high draft picks.
Yeah.
It didn't. I think it's more a function of the dysfunction there, that we look at it from a distance and say, well, both sides have number one picks, if I'm not mistaken, right? They have a lot.
Thomas is good. Andrew Thomas is a very good player. Evan Neal hasn't
was a bust.
Yeah. Has been a bust. Yeah.
So when you look at what they've invested draft capital wise into that offensive line, I think we use that as kind of a learning curve here, or a grading curve for the rest of the guys that we analyze coming away from the Giants. So you that's a fair point.
All right, who will the Eagles miss more this year? Assuming one of them doesn't resign here, Jack Stoll or Olamide Zaccheaus?
Who will they miss more? I tell you what. When Dallas Goedert was out, I thought Jack Stoll did a look. Is he Goedert? No, he's not the receiver, obviously. But I thought Stoll did layman's work and held down the position pretty well when Goedert was out. Zaccheaus, I'm trying to remember how many times I even had a highlight of any kind of energy in my calls with Zaccheaus. There was a couple of plays during
one
the season.
touchdown,
more than plays.
Yeah, Jalen extended the play, made a nice catch in the back of the end zone.
I do remember.
Yeah,
but I just thought, from a grunt work point of view, from a guy that kind of kept it together while Goedert was out for those weeks, I thought Stoll, because I thought Alberto, as we call him on the Spanish broadcast,
yeah, Albert Aguegbanon. I got to get that in. Yeah.
Okay, so I was expecting a lot more from Alberto and got nothing from him. And I thought Stoll did a heck of a job holding it down for Dallas Goedert. So I'm going to go. I think they'll miss Stoll, and he's going to the Giants.
The Giants, yeah. They traded him for Saquon, essentially. No, I'm joking.
And we kept Alberto.
You kept. That's one of the. Maybe it shouldn't have been a surprise, because how he traded basically draft capital for him. And anytime he trades for somebody, he's going to give him at least the opportunity to prove that Howie was right. Now you don't have Jack Stoll, and he is with the Giants. So is Ricardo comfortable with Grant Calcaterra and Albert O as a potential backup tight end? Because guess what? Last couple seasons, the way Dallas Goedert plays in a very violent way, susceptible to getting injured. He's gotten injured both of the last two seasons. You might surmise you're going to need somebody else for at least 2 or 3 games.
Yeah, well, Calcaterra is talented. I'm hoping that Albert O turns into something, but that's another position that I can see them looking to upgrade somewhere in the draft.
All right, since we're talking about which one of you, does it actually change in Spanish, the pronunciation of Albert O's last name? John said it. Let's hear you say it, Rickie.
No, we just keep it Alberto.
You don't even go last name. All right, good on you. Speaking of tough last names, and I'll let John pronounce his last name, what's the chance that the Eagles reach out for Big V for a little offensive line depth? He's a free agent, has not signed yet, certainly a graduate of Stoutland University, and didn't begrudge him when he signed with the Lions because they paid him good money to go there. Any chance Big V, who would be who, John?
Halapoulivaati Vaitai. Now, it's not his last name. His last name's easy. It's the first name. Halapoulivaati Vaitai. Yeah.
Okay, Vaitai.
Big V was a good Eagle. I thought he was a very good soldier.
Started in the Super Bowl. Left tackle, baby.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So I'd welcome Big V back. As long as, I didn't follow really his injury issues, if he had any while he was away, but if he's a healthy player, I'd welcome him back. I thought he was a heck of a performer. And yes, Halapoulivaati Vaitai.
Yeah,
very good.
That was pretty easy to, we can take that one on the Spanish broadcast pretty easily as compared to Alberto.
You guys are both better than me because I'd botch it for sure. Give you guys props for that one. And yeah, why not? I'm talking about, and I don't know who he's talking to right now. He's probably, you think he's better than a veteran minimum guy in the open market, John?
Probably not at this stage. I mean, we're talking about, 2017 season when the Eagles won the Super Bowl. So, I mean, again, we've been talking about that theme. NFL moves fast. So that was a long time ago. And God bless Big B. I mean, he worked and made himself in a good player. He got a big deal from Detroit in free agency. But yeah, I think at this stage, especially, you know how this works, Jody and Rickie. I mean, at this stage of free agency, you're not getting big deals anymore.
Right.
So you are where you are if you're still out there.
So what would you prioritize, Rickie and John? A young guy like, I don't know, a Hennessy who's been injury prone but still has upside. If he stays healthy, damn, he could be really good. Or a veteran savvy guy who knows how to play in your system. Yeah, he's old, and yeah, he's probably going to break down just as good a chance as a guy like Hennessy. Which would be your preference, since we're talking about offensive line depth, which the Eagles haven't gotten in free agency yet? Which would you prefer if you were the Eagles, Rickie?
I'd take Vaitai. I'd take the veteran. I would. I think this is a win-now team. Let's get ready to go right now. We're not looking 2 years down the road. This is a team that wants to come back and at least win this division and get back into the playoffs that way. I'd go with the veteran. Now, I am also not poo-pooing. And I'll hear, John's answer on that question, but I'm also not poo-pooing completely the possible return of Taylor Swift's brother-in-law to this group also. So.
Oh, wow. I'm trying to, so we're thinking now, Jason Kelsey coming back.
You and Groats are the two that are clinging to that, right, John? He still believes Kelsey's coming back. Was it Groats who said that?
Probably. Groats has got Landon Dickerson moving the center, and he's got Kelsey coming. How many centers you need? You got Cam Jurgen.
or was that Martin who said that? I get my Delaware guys confused. You're not the only one who suggested that Kelsey could be coming back. Zero. There's 0% chance that Jason returns.
Yeah, he's having too much fun. I think he got Eagles fans excited by his comments about Saquon Barkley, and that if he knew completely, and he kind of knew that the Eagles were going after him, maybe he'd want to come back. But now, from Jason's perspective, he's just beaten up, man. He doesn't want to do it. By the way, you see the podcast of him talking about Aaron Donald, him and Travis. That's tremendous. You should check their podcast if you get to see it, because the respect that guy gets around the NFL, Aaron Donald, it's like few players in history. But
now, I'm glad you brought that up, because I heard a 30-minute diatribe yesterday on NFL Network. I was driving back from training, spring training, and they put him on a level with Reggie White and Lawrence Taylor.
Yeah. He's one of the greatest defensive players of all time. Of all time.
You're on this boat too?
Oh
yeah, so am I, Rick.
Oh yeah.
Because, and I'll tell you why. It's easier to stand out as a defensive end in a 4-3. It's easier to stand out as an outside linebacker in a 4-3. It's tougher to stand out as a defensive tackle in the National Football League. And did he have as big an impact as either Reggie White or Lawrence Taylor? No. But if you prorate it because of the position that he played, and it's tougher to do from the defensive tackle position, yeah, I think he's on a level with those two guys.
I'll just paraphrase what Jason said, because the Eagles are one of the maybe the only team that Aaron Donald has ever played against that never let up a sack against Aaron Donald. Never. And Jason Kelce said, we literally is the only player since he's been here, and Jason has been there every single, a long time, only player. We double or triple teamed him on every
play.
Single play. And he even brought up the one time he hid well, and Kelce didn't know he was on the field, and he didn't slide protection to Aaron Donald, and Dickerson was like panicking. We're not sliding to 99. What are we doing? And panicking. Yeah. I mean, when other players talk about the way they talk about Aaron Donald, and they all do, but going back, I had the discussion with Brandon Brooks, who at the time was the best. And I would always go, Rickie, I'd be in the locker room when it was time for all pros, and I would talk to different players about who I should vote for the all pro team. And I asked one year, I asked Brandon Brooks, I know, and I said it. I prefaced it by saying, I know Donald, who's the second best defensive tackle, and Brandon was like, nobody's close. Nobody's close. Number 2 is not close. And he couldn't even get to number 2 because he wouldn't stop talking about Aaron Donald. It's pretty amazing, just how dominant he's been, how good he's been. And I hate to compare eras, so what I try to do is dominance in your era, and Reggie was phenomenal and LT was tremendous. But Aaron Donald, every bit as dominant in his era as they were in their era.
I guess I'm guilty. The recency bias with me is that against the Eagles, which is when I've seen him up close live, it's been against the Eagles. The Eagles basically controlled him. As you mentioned, there have been no sacks. So
yeah,
that's the lasting I'd have to go back and take a look at the numbers and watch some of the other highlights, but against the Birds anyway, we kept him under control.
Numbers were scary good against everybody else. Rickie, always a pleasure, bud. We know you're going to be busy with baseball. Maybe if you got a day off at some point, I'll notice it on the schedule. Hey, I can get Ricardo up.
Absolutely. I'll wake up for you guys. We have, as I mentioned today, the Battle of New York. It's raining all over Florida today, so I don't think anybody's really going to play.
Okay.
Because it's downpours. But then the Phillies and the Yankees tomorrow afternoon, and then we leave for Mexico City. So a fun few days ahead.
The Red Devils. Enjoy the Red Devils.
I will.
Keep an eye out for Trevor Bauer, and you don't get clipped by his
Yankees need some pitching. Maybe they get panicked enough to take a chance.
We'll see.
Blackballed. He has been. Just saying. I'll bet against Trevor Bauer being on a roster. Rickie, always a pleasure, buddy. Muchas gracias, amigo.
Anytime, fellas.
Rickie Ricardo, voice of the Eagles, and Espanol here with us on Birds 365. All right, come back. We'll officially put a bow on the show. Stay right there.